Hello, it is Sara Waggle, astrologer and leadership coach here for Moon Astrology Tarot, this time for the moon in Libra. This is the Libra solar eclipse that's happening on October 2nd. It's going to be conjunct Mercury. I'll show you the chart here in a second. Of course, if you want your sun and rising signs for this, the video is linked below. You can check that out. If you would like an individual reading, that link is below. You can get a single transit reading to find out exactly where things are hitting your chart. For example, if you're noticing the Mars in Cancer opposite your Venus in Capricorn, and the struggle bus between the masculine and the feminine. And we're kind of all in that arena because our two feminine and masculine planets are in their not so happy positions. Mars is at fall in Cancer and Venus is at detriment in Scorpio. So we're all kind of in that feel of things, is the balance between the masculine and feminine. This lunar eclipse, this solar eclipse, however, is happening in Libra, which is a Venetian sign. So there's a lot of feminine energy in the chart. And so, in fact, let's just bring up the chart so we can stop just talking about it and show you. Hold on. Okay, so the only thing that I didn't mark on this image was the Venus coming in on a trine to Mars. And the interesting thing is that I marked Venus trining Saturn in Pisces, but shortly thereafter, Venus is at 11, Saturn's at 14, Mars is at 15 Cancer. So these are all water trines. So, but trines are harmonious, water is emotional. So, it really is an emotional time. Like I said, Libra is a Venetian sign. We've got the eclipse happening at 10 degrees, and Mercury having just had his cazimi with the sun, his superior cazimi. We've got that going on. And so there's a lot going on with this, but I would say it's a lot to do with relationships, conversations about relationships, potentially. I mean, this is kind of one of those like one night stands could happen, or like passions could get going in the bedroom. But also it could be breakups. It could be like reevaluating your relationship, that kind of thing. Do I think this is a breakup thing? It could be, because it is an eclipse. So things could just kind of eclipse out. But I mean, and again, relationships, when we're talking about Libra, we're talking about all kinds of relationships: job, your relationship with money, your relationship with your belief systems, your relationship about, whatever, right? Your relationship with food, your relationship with whatever we're talking about, right? You're in a relationship with everything, including your phone, including the computer you're working on or watching this on or whatever. We're in relationship with all of those things. So it's important to remember that when we're talking about Libra, that we're not just talking about being in a relationship with a partner or whatever. We're talking even about being in a relationship with yourself. And so there's a lot of parts to that, because with Venus and Scorpio, it's kind of like, what's your relationship with your shadow side? What's your relationship with the parts of yourself that you maybe don't like, but do you accept that that's part of who you are? Do you accept that, yeah, okay, I'm a mouthy person, or I don't clean up after myself. I don't keep a clean house. I keep a fairly cluttered, messy house. But do you accept that about yourself? Do you understand that that's something that is who you are, how you are, and that you could potentially improve it? There's always room for improvement, right? Just because you've got, just because you've always been that way doesn't mean you have to stay that way, right? Just because you have like crutched on being raised a certain way doesn't mean you have to stay that way. I sort of have a theory that like once you reach your mid 40s, you really can't blame your upbringing for your bullshit anymore. That sounds awfully evil, but like what I mean is that, you can't, that there comes a point where you have to outgrow the wounding. You have to outgrow the childhood, right? Those things will always continue to come up and resurface for further healing. But it's like, now that you're in your mid 40s, you've had a Saturn return, you've had a couple of Jupiter returns, you've had a Uranus opposition, like you've been through a lot. You've had a job or two, you've had a marriage or a long-term relationship, maybe you've had children, you've experienced some stuff. So at some point you have to say, I'm done with that old way of being, or leaning or crutching onto that belief system that, well, it's how I was raised, it's how I am. No, at some point you get to say, I'm done with that, and move forward with a more aligned, I shouldn't say better, but like a more aligned way of being, right? At some point we have to stop. At some point we have to stop crutching on old patterns and stuff that we're claiming we can't change. And because the reality is that you can change it, right? I think I said it in the Sun and Rising Signs video. It's like your relationship with yourself, with God, Source, Universe, is up to you. It has nothing to do with how you were raised. Maybe you were raised very religious and Christian and you don't align with that anymore. Or maybe you were raised Catholic and now you align with Protestant faith. Like, it doesn't have to be spirituality. It can be anything. But at some point you have to say, okay, I don't agree, I don't align with that, and I'm going to have it go this way. Or maybe you're shifting from Christianity to spirituality, and embracing your, embracing your witchy side, embracing the magic, magic, the magic, right? The witchery of herbalism or crystals or whatever it is for you. So at some point you have to, we all have to be done with some part of ourselves that we were raised with, and be willing and open to changing it to the better for ourselves, because you're going to be 70 years old and like, shit, I wish I'd have let that go a long time ago. You could do that in your mid 40s or even in your mid 30s. So that you can move on and do things differently. So that's kind of what I'm feeling for this eclipse, is that we're all kind of at this place where, like, at some point you can't keep crutching on the old shit anymore. And it's time to grow up, take responsibility. It's like our wounds are most likely not our fault, but they are our responsibility to heal and grow past them and alchemize or transmute or transcend them. And so I feel like with this solar eclipse, it's like we're in the ready or not, the world's gonna freaking change moment in time. So like a year from now, things will, like 6 months from now, shit won't be the same as it currently is, right? And so we all kind of have to reach a point where, okay, yeah, that happened in my childhood, that happened, my family was that way, my family is still that way, but I don't have to be that way. I get to be what aligns for me. I get to find out how my relationship with God or myself can exist without worrying about my family or my friends or whatever, right? You may lose friends, you may lose connections, but in the end, you have to live in the integrity of yourself. You are the one who has to live in your own skin. You got to get comfortable being in that skin, right? You got to get comfortable with your body, with your soul, with your emotions. Do you like how you respond or react to things? Do you like how you treat people? Like, this is Venus and Scorpio, like getting in touch with the dark sides of yourself that you maybe don't like, but like, okay, so let's just say you're a mouthy person and you say the wrong shit at the wrong time. I may or may not be guilty of that, but like, it's something about myself that, like, I'm the one who gets to practice reacting or even responding a different way, right? Because I don't like when I say something that hurts people. Sometimes I do, let's be real, but I don't like saying things that hurt people's feelings. And other times I'm like, no matter what I say, I'm going to hurt their feelings. So I can't be responsible for that, but I can be responsible for how I present information, right? So it's all a practice, but we all get to choose how it's going to go. So anyway, that's what I feel like this moon in Libra is. It's being your own like judge and jury, your own justice system, your own balance system is like, are there people in your life that you can like be real and they're not going to say anything other than maybe tell you to shut up when you smart off to them? Or are there people in your life that you kind of have to like be careful, be eggshelly around? And if maybe those are the people you just aren't going to align with because you're sick and tired of having to um sugarcoat yourself for them. Okay, we got the Hanged Man in reverse. This is Lieutenant Barkley in reverse. Yeah, I mean, we're all kind of at a standstill right now because there's a lot of retrogrades. Mars is very shortly going to enter his retrograde shadow, his pre-retrograde shadow, meaning that he will be in the territory where he will retrograde. Um, but we have all these retrograde planets, meaning the outer planets, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, Chiron, Jupiter is shortly going to go retrograde. Like I said, Mars is entering his retrograde shadow shortly. So, and this eclipse is kind of like follow up to the lunar eclipse from September 17th, where it's like we're all kind of hanging in limbo, waiting, right? But while we're in limbo, this is where we get to focus, reflect on who we are, how we are. Are we being who we want to really be, right? Again, this is going back to that whole, are you leaning on the crutch that was your childhood? Like, is it time to be done with that crutch? Let's get another card because I like it. The Wheel of Fortune upright. This is Guinan. Like, I feel like this is exactly what I'm saying. Like, you can sit and, yeah, you can sit in the, you can sit and not do anything about how things have gone and keep going the same way. But I feel like this Hanged Man in reverse is like this opportunity to tune into the Wheel of Fortune. Like, where is the wheel actually going? Do you like the direction the wheel is going, or is it time to adjust the reins and adjust the horses? I mean, and this could be a Jesus take the wheel moment, but you know what? Let's just play a little bit here because yeah, Jesus, take the wheel because there's some shit that's completely out of your control. I completely get that. But there is a lot of things, your thoughts, your feelings. Every day you are manifesting by your thoughts, by your responses, by your reactions, by your gratitudes, right? So like, what if like you get to co-create with Jesus, take the wheel? And like, yeah, okay, Jesus, take the wheel, but here's where I actually want to go, right? We do have free will, WILL at the end of the day. So even if like we're counting on, the higher power to take the wheel, it's you still have to show the wheel where to go, right? The wheel wills where the will wheels. I think that's how it goes. Oh man, I forgot. I haven't read the Wheel of Time in a hot minute. But anyway, the point is that you have free will. So yes, God guides us, but we show God by co-creating. Otherwise, like people sit stagnant and don't know why. Well, it's because you're not showing God, source, universe the direction that which you want to go. They ain't gonna just, it's not gonna just, you gotta feel it for yourself. You gotta take the actions. All right, Woodland Wardens, we got the Hawk and Thistle. Hawk and Thistle. Graceful persistence. Ooh, I like it. Graceful persistence because squeaky wheel gets attention. But also I like this because it's like, okay, you got to stay the course, right? You can keep throwing spaghetti at the wall, but eventually you got to like go with it. Okay, the spaghetti didn't stick to the wall, so we got to cook it for like a little bit longer or whatever. And by that I mean like, if you keep throwing it at the wall, it's not going to stick. It's not going to stick. Well, let it sit. Let it sit. So we get kind of impatient. And I think this is being patient, being persistent, continuing to, stay your own course. and all of those sorts of things. So I kind of like this. I would say dig into what the spiritual messaging is from a hawk and from a thistle so that you have some kind of guidance to work with. But yeah, okay. So I said I had something coming October 3rd. And so I'm gonna announce it in the Moon in Scorpio, the next video, just because I feel like we all need to get through this eclipse moment and then move forward. So if you're in my newsletter, you already know what's going on. If you are a previous client, you already know what's going on. But for those of you out there who have not worked with me or are not on my newsletter, I will be announcing it, but it has already been presented on other platforms. So sign up for my newsletter, become a client, and you get information ahead of time. So thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and comment. Let me know how this eclipse is going for you. This eclipse season's going for you. How's Libra going for you? Check out the sun and rising signs video, of course. And otherwise, I'll talk to you on the next Moon Astrology Tarot. Bye-bye.